Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to be creating a procedure that will create the realm class family type, basically the GetTypeId functions. We keep writing a script that is, select type ID, where family ID and select family ID, where class ID in class, where realm in realm. And that's a lot of code that takes up a lot of real estate when we're going through and debugging code or writing code. And we want to change that to a simple function, because not only are we going to update that function later to use the cleaning columns that we have, so we could call a specific function given the names and it'll return a different ID maybe tomorrow than it did yesterday, which keeps our system healthy. But we want to do this now to prevent a lot of tech debt in the future, and we already have a lot of tech debt to clean up in this sprint. So I hope you enjoy, and I will see you soon. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is declare a subject ID because of the consistency we're using in our realm class family type. Every subject is going to have a realm class family type. So we essentially only need the subject ID to create that realm class family type function, because we're going to pass it in a tenant and then the realm key name, class key name, family key name, and type key name. And we'll create that function on its appropriate database. So the subject name is basically just data set. It doesn't have that extra external stuff to it. And then we need the database name because we're going to be using the SQL scripts again. And we'll get the database ID from the data set, from the subject, because we have added the database ID to the subject table. No, we haven't worked with the subject table very often, but that will be, we're kind of circling back and we need to add more to it. So pretty simple. First statement's just getting the database ID and name for the incoming subject ID. This time I'm using the select views. And then we need the database name from the database table. Again, using the select views, since we no longer have to use the table itself. And using the select views will make it a lot easier to convert over to synonyms. Now I just used DevArt's SQL Complete to create my create function script, and I'm just giving it some, tokens and naming. FNC is my abbreviation for function _get, followed by the subject name token and type ID. We'll create more of these later, like family ID and class ID and realm ID, and also create the the table value function equivalents to handle multiple returns. But for right now, we're going to be using the RCFT scalar functions more often than we'll be using the table valued functions. So we want to make sure to get that out of the way. So declaring the variables for the function, that tenant, and then we're going to declare our key names, and our format will be subject name token followed by realm key name, class key name, family key name, etc. And what that will fill out to is, if we were passing it the dataset subject, it'll say at dataset realm key name at dataset class key name. The function will be named get dataset type ID, and then I'm just using the subject name to declare a type ID, and our snippet to generate essentially all the code I need for this function. I'm just gonna clean it up and format it a little bit. I can start to get rid of these prefixes that I've used before, and I'm just gonna copy these variables, and because of our views, our str key name no longer becomes it becomes subject name type key name, whatever that table's name followed by key name. So subject name of dataset type key name. And on the type table, I'm going to add the filter by the tenant. Now here's something that you can kind of think about depending on what you want to do. I choose to limit only the type by a tenant and not the whole chain in most cases. Relationships, I'm going to do the whole chain. I'll make this a custom definition, and we're going to get this data driven, but we really need this right now in order to get synonyms set up before we start creating tons of code and have to do a ton of tech debt. I already have a ton of tech debt to take care of, but you can put the tenant filter on every single piece to make sure that the tenant owns the entire chunk. However, in my case, and what I like to think about is the database table. So if I have a database realm of relational, and I'm, class of t-sql, family of local, and I want to restore AdventureWorks, do I really want to give them their own classification, or do I just want to, change a type? They don't have a main archive or history. They have none of that. They have their own type, which might be unassigned. So that is my reason for only filtering the tenant on the return column, the type. So in the family table, the family would have a tenant filter because it would be the topmost in the select statement. It wouldn't be in a where in clause. So that's just something to think about. Yeah, you can act accordingly based on your situation. If you're taking a lot of data from external sources, I would probably put that tenant ID on everything. And I've just been talking over writing the same pattern over and over again. I do not remember if create function has to be first in the batch, so I went ahead and wrapped it in a nested execute statement anyways, just to be on the safe side. Doesn't really hurt. I mean, the less code we type, the less mistakes we make. But in this case, again, I don't remember all of the items that have to be first in the batch. So now after our script is written, we're just replacing all of that code. So it's the standard replace the base script, database name token with the database name, the subject name token with the subject name, and that should be good enough to execute. So let's test it on something. How about ID 1? Nice. Oh, drop function if exists. I keep calling those die functions, so in my head I'm always thinking drop if exists and never thinking drop what if exists. And ran it again, and we're good. We got our first function, so I'm just gonna run through a couple more to make sure. And test it out. It's the third one I created. So how it'll look in our code is, I own this. We're looking for relational databases, the t-sql class, local family, and the main database type. So I can run this. Oh, I have to actually tell it where it is, and it works. I can try archive, and my ID changes. So all we have to do is grab all this code and turn it into a stored procedure. So for the naming, I'm just gonna keep with the pattern that I've created, PRC system object. And I'm gonna do process because it creates a process and it creates a specific function, and that function is RCFT followed by my suffix of create. Paste code and get it formatted. All right. So that's about it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. And next video, we're gonna take care of synonyms so we can do a lot of code cleanup. I'll just scroll through the code and let you guys take a look at it. Remember, Like this video and YouTube will recommend it to other users in our industry, and subscribe to support me. Thank you again, and I will see you next time.